happen after that, right? Because the company also has their own expenses and their own needs, besides your own personal needs and your own lifestyle and your own lifestyle style. So yeah, um, definitely not an easy jump. And having those 5 things figured out, or at least have a draft of what you want to do. And if you are safe, let's say money wise or on your finances, and you're ready to make the jump, understand why you're doing it, and set yourself like this mindset and start working with clients and figure out like what kind of projects you want to work on, so you don't burn out on the way of like pursuing this big dream.
Thank you, Susie. And I definitely had this when I was younger, in my first year of university. I decided it would be a great idea to start a business at the exact same time that I was struggling with even getting decent grades at university. And it was chaotic. It was hectic. I started a 3D printing business because I was really into it at the time. My lounge room was full of like machines and robots. God bless my my partner. I don't know how she put up with that. Um, and after a year and a half, I ended up closing it down due to burning out with my consistent theme of trying to study full time and had no idea about business. But it was interesting. I think for a few years after that, I was really hyper cautious about starting another company or joining any kind of company that didn't have that certainty, especially if it was my own thing. And only recently, I don't even know how long, like 8 years later, have I started to feel more comfortable with the idea of taking that risk and doing my own thing. But over that time, I developed all this information around like, what does taxes mean? I didn't know at the time. Or just see some of these most basic things, and they gave me the confidence to be like, okay, I can take reasonable risks that are in my own context. So I think I definitely agree with a lot of that there. So we got 2 more questions we're going to work through. One is going to be take us to now. So you made that jump. Give us a little bit of an insight into what was the transition up to either closing or transition up to now like. Was there any big challenges? That's one of the questions we had. And then after that, the last question we'll talk about is what's been the impact? Looking back, you've done all this, or you've started this. How has it changed your career? So let's start with the first one. That's going to be, can you take us through from that leaping moment to where you're at now, and maybe talk about at least one challenge you had during that. And I'll throw it to Sarah.
All right. So as I said, I started as a freelancer. Then I went ahead and grew as a team, which became a design agency. Then I joined partners with another designer friend who had his own agency. So we combined our forces. And in the end, it was more than 20 people running together. But I was, as a business partner, I was still active. As a design lead, I was active. And also as a designer, I was active. So there was a lot of different roles and hats that I had to take. So these were all business model switches that I made, and I tried and trying to see which one fitted me better and which one satisfied me. And now I'm working as an individual contributor on a design leader level with startups and consulting startup founders on product design. So that's where I am right now.
Awesome. And when you launched, was there a big challenge you encountered, or could you share with us just a quick struggle that you had from that kind of, I'm going to do this agency, I've been kind of taking the reins here. Going through that journey up to there.
I think it was important to know what you're good at and what you're not good at. Me joining forces with another design entrepreneur was a direct result of it. He was more powerful on the business and selling side, and he actually didn't want to keep designing anymore. Whereas I wanted to be more with designers, run design teams, and focus less on the accounting and the spreadsheets and proposal side of things. So I just wanted to be more on the creative end of things. So I think it's important to notice when you want to switch roles. And it's also one failure, for example, with as I see now, I didn't really test out my pricing in the most frequent way that I should have. I was kind of scared to raise my prices, and that took a toll on me. On a business wise and also as a designer, because I kept having more work. It was good quality, but it wasn't well priced and it wasn't fair for me as a designer.
I definitely feel that when I ran my very short business, I was absolutely terrified of pricing. You know, I would scrutinize every dollar that I spent. And so when I ran a company, I was really just like, I had no handle on what it meant to set a pricing that was reasonable and sustainable for myself and the company and the client. So I ended up doing jobs that were like a few dollars, paid for the material. That's it. But didn't take into account. I just felt like I was scrambling all the time, and like no one would pay if I increased the prices. So I definitely, I think one of the biggest challenges for me over the past few years have been getting used to like the scale of money. When I joined as a consultant, I had never seen so many zeros on a proposal for design work, and getting my brain around not the concept of tens, not hundreds, but hundreds of thousands was a whole different space to be in for my brain personally. Yeah. Mariana.
So as you know, I'm just like starting, and last year I spent like most of the year freelancing with other colleagues. This helped me to understand a little bit more about like the pricing, like not just here in Spain. I usually work also abroad, so I was able to understand a little bit more. I was also talking to a lot of people, you know, like just like connecting with people and sharing, you know, what I wanted to do, the ideas, the things that I've read, that I was interested. And I think I was kind of doing some kind of user research or something like this, because I was always like trying to understand what resonates more with people. I was like connecting a lot with other professionals, like not just like designers, but maybe they would not be like my clients, but maybe they will refer clients to me eventually, like people from HR basically. Learning a lot, sharing a lot, like I try to share as much value as I could. And I think this actually worked really well. And lately, like just at the beginning of the year, I decided that I wanted to do something that everyone told me, don't do this, please don't do this. I prototyped a couple services, and I was able to find a company that was willing to have me like providing the service. And they gave me feedback, they gave me like pricing, and they asked me for proposals for projects. So I mean, in my case, it worked because I was really afraid of not knowing the pricing. I think this is one of the most difficult things. And the other challenge that I was really like, it's hard because, you know, when you're an employee, it's easy to like to tell, you know, yes, you know, like this place is not being well managed. We need more people in this side or that side. And then now I find myself knowing more about my limits, and I know that I need to hire people to do some things for me or with me. And at the same time, I don't want to scale up. You know, I'd like to keep like a small, medium business, and, you know, like have a good and healthy life. That's it. So it's difficult. It's really difficult. Yeah.
Thank you, Mariana, for sharing that. And I think you and I talked about that you'd prototyped and offer those services you wanted. You'd gone out and just searched for companies who would let you try it pretty much and be like, hey, can I try this? And then can you give me feedback? Can you tell me how much you pay for it? Do you want proposals for this? And that's
and now I have like a potential client. I mean, I have ADHD, so I still need to send the proposal. You know, I'm still procrastinating with this. but it worked. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. Jan.
Yeah, I remember my account when I worked as a freelancer. The cool thing about working as a freelancer is that you can set your own salary, right? Or as an agency owner. And my accountant sat down with me and he said, listen, you don't have enough money to basically pay your salary, so you have to take a pay cut, or you have to find a way to get more clients in the pipeline, or you have to do something to keep your paycheck. So that's exactly what I did. So I raised my price, and I managed to keep my paycheck that way. But still, it was a realization that you still have to, work on filling up that pipeline with work and chase after clients, which can be a little bit stressful at times, because the thing is, or at least what I remember, is that work, the pipeline is not constant. It always, it goes up and down always. So when you well, basically you have a lot of busy time and then you have a lot of slow time. So that can be a little bit stressful, at least as a freelancer or an agency owner, especially since you have more people that rely on you, and you need a big buffer to keep paying other people's paychecks. So yeah, that's a big takeaway for me, at least, and something I remember vividly from back in the days.
Thank you. And Susie.
Oh yeah, I definitely faced a very similar role than Jen's. It's not regarding my salary, but regarding the expenses of a company. So right now, or like in the past few maybe, but yeah, in the last, from the last year to now, I've been in this like hybrid mode where I'm opening the agency, but I'm a freelancer as well. So I'm working with clients. I'm doing these different freelance jobs, and at the same time, I'm opening the agency. So changing or switching from this freelancer mindset to a business owner mindset, that's something that's been challenging for me, because now I need to be super legal about the contracts that I provide to the clients. I need to provide invoices for tax paying. I need to pay an accountant. I need to pay an office. I need to pay for my visa paperwork and everything regarding being a foreigner in a country. So definitely like these things that are like around, like you sort of like know they're there, but you don't know they're there when you're freelancing. You just like, oh yeah, I'll be a freelancer with a name in a company. Oh well, the name of the company, they mean something else, and all these hidden unknown things were the ones that I faced when I started, when I opened the company. I have this agency that helped me open the agency, because sadly I don't speak Chinese. And and when they said like, okay, everything is set, uh and then she sent me the list of the things that I needed to pay for, and then I started like, okay, Excel, hello, nice to meet you, my name is Susie, and we're back together, because we've been together before when I opened the company back then, but then I'm here back again, like trying to like lift the dust of my financial models, businesses creation, which I don't know if it makes sense, but definitely that was one of the biggest challenges. Like changing, like I think one of the questions mentioned about the hats. So changing the designer freelancer hat and putting on the business owner hat, and this is like everything that I need to take into consideration just for working with a client before you actually do like sit down and do the design job. Yeah, that's
Thank you, Susie. And I also found that, after I love the networking part, I love the people talking part. Something I had to get used to after the company that I shut down was just really enjoying the stuff that if I go and talk to my family about, they're bored. They're just killed by when, talking about spreadsheets and tax and the profit revenues and all these metrics. I would have been bored by that if I was like 17, and I would have been like, don't show me a spreadsheet. I don't want to see that. But I've had to like almost fall in love with business and finance. But seeing it through that lens of a business owner rather than of maybe a student or a teenager, so to speak. And I love what Ed said. As a freelancer, I thought it was a feast or famine. I struggled to find new clients. I wish I had a new business person focused on finding new clients. And I think a little bit of a theme we've got here is that a lot of us didn't start alone. And, running Case Study Club with Jan is amazing because I feel like we each cover a different part of each other in a way. There's a lot of complementing there. Half the stuff that Jan does, he has to pull me up on some visual design stuff and occasionally get me back on track and tell me to stop throwing 73 ideas out. I remember the early days of our Slack channel, Jan. That was insane. I think I was posting a new business idea every day and you were like, keep it simple. So having someone that really compliments you and you can kind of bounce off, I think can be super valuable. Definitely. So let's talk about impact. And then we're going to switch over. We've got someone to bring up on stage. So we'll quickly go over impact. And then I think I don't want to keep you guys too long. So where you are now, whether you're in the middle of your agency or afterwards, what's been the impact personally on you and that you feel in your career? If you had to close everything down and go get a job, has it helped? And personally, has it helped? And I'll throw it to Sarah.
All right, I'll go. How it affected my career? So I think it's a different path than being in an enterprise or in a company setting. So here's how you will be affected. You will be more working on the business side of things. You would have to work on strategy by instinct. There is no other choice if you want to make it. And especially now the environment is filled with freelancers and design entrepreneurs. So it's a tough place and tough market to be in. So without a strategy, without a solid business plan and knowing what you want to go for, I think it would be a really hard challenge. But since you will be learning by these things, by doing, then you would add immense value to yourself as a designer. And even if you fail, that is a big learning experience that would help you throughout your career. You would learn how to sell to people, which we as designers, that's our daily job, right? Selling our ideas, getting buy-in, and asking people for money, for resources when you're on a management and lead level. These will be some things that you would learn by your own experience. So I don't think that there's a gap that is created by making the switch. I think it would provide more value than being in a company or being in an enterprise level. It would be more challenging to gain the skills in the speed. You would be running off your feet. So get ready for the lift off. Absolutely.
Absolutely love that. And I like what you said around strategy by instinct. It does feel like that in many ways. You're kind of this struggle of maintaining instinct, but then you also know there's only so much a single person can do. And there's only so much your brain can think. Yeah. Jan.
Yeah. Okay. So the question again, can you
Yes,
repeat?
I had to remember for a second as well. I was so involved in listening. So the question here is, think about where you are now. What's been the impact of starting that agency personally on you, both from a personal growth perspective and maybe from a career? Has it helped? was there any benefits that it's kind of given you or drawbacks?
Yeah, so I think I have to piggyback on Sarah, because as well as her, I think business is by far the biggest thing that I've sort of strengthened myself with. At least now and what else? Yeah, one thing I think we forget, it's a lot of fun, starting something new, starting something for yourself, being independent. I mean, I wouldn't be without that experience at all. So if I had to go back, I would do it all over again, basically. That's just one thing to, encourage people that are thinking about doing this to make that leap, because you're not going to regret it. That's for sure. And if you regret it, it's no big deal. You can go back to probably your old job will take you back, or you'll get a new job. So it's not like you're gonna end up, on the streets or anything like that.
I like that. Mariana. Thank you, Jan.
So I'm learning a lot as I wanted. That was one of my goals by working with other designers. I'm also learning more about money, something I didn't know a lot, I think. And I think I'm having a better quality of life, like a better balance. Up until now, I'm working much less. I am learning my limits, but I think I'm also learning my own strengths. And I think Sarah said something about, like knowing your limits, knowing what you're good at and knowing what you are not good at. And I think it's important in my case to to integrate all of these previous careers, like as a psychologist, as working for NGOs, UN, and things that like they didn't seem to match or to be integrated. And I think I am able to integrate this in something that I want to create and I want to show to the world. And so I'm happy right now. Yeah.
I love that. And just for anyone in the chat and the community, I'm gathering these questions. So if there aren't any questions we can get to immediately, what I'm going to do is put them into a long article and I'll send it out to our panel members as well as ourselves. And we'll see if we can type up some responses and have a little post panel article on that. I think that'll be cool. Susi.
Yeah, definitely. Like there is not a big of a gap either on the mindset of like, if I were to close shop and go back to working at a company agency, or just like get hired by another company. I think the mindset of the business perspective helps a lot in within a company or within another agency, because you're not only on the designer for the users mindset, or at least that's like from the perspective of a junior or mid level designer, which is like pretty much my level so far. Where you go to a company and you think of the user, like, how can I make this product better for the user, or how can I design this for the end user? Instead, like, you become more of a like you have these different gradients where you are capable by nature, just like by default, because you have it already implemented in yourself, of like thinking like, is this good for the business as well as the user, and how many users there are, right? Because usually when you graduate or when you study design, it's always like a one way, or designers, I'm designing for pet owners, right? Like, but there are other hidden users or around the use a product that are usually not being considered if you're not from the business perspective and only from the end user perspective. And I think that's one of the things that impacted, at least in my way, The other one is being a little sharper with the feedback, receiving feedback, providing feedback, or bringing in ideas, right? Because you're not like it's not like your creativity cuts short. It's more like you know how to divert it or how to channel it because you need to work faster. It's more like it's this trait is also received, or also it also like downloads in your system when you work for agencies, which have like several clients, different kinds of projects, different kinds of markets, and you really need to work like very efficiently. So I think that those are the impacts of working as a business owner, or working as a agency owner. If I were to go back to working at a company, or working at an agency, or I think those are the things that so far I know I've learned.
I love that. Thank you, Susie. And personally, for me, I think when I did my first company, it was we broke even, but it was in many ways a fire, a dumpster fire, so to speak. But I think what it did do was it had awoken a bit of a love for business because it was on my own terms. It was me that was doing it, so I had a great degree of connection to it, which then gave me a bit more of a connection to other people's businesses. And I think that's one of the big outputs it had for me. Now, we're reaching end of time here, and I just want to check in with the panel members. If you all need to jump immediately, that is okay. But I would love to get one of the audience members up for, it would take about 10 to 15 minutes. Can I just check in whether or not that is okay for any of you? If you do need to jump, I know it's quite late for Jan and quite early for Susie. Would that be okay? Yep, cool.
Fine by me.
Okay. So this has been lovely. Thank you for sharing your stories. And what I would like to do is turn you guys briefly into consultants. Back, you're now consultants again. We have a lovely member that I've reached out to who would be more than happy to jump on the stage with us. So I'm going to ask her to come on, introduce herself, maybe talk through what she's thinking, and imagine you guys are maybe new startup, new agency consultants, and you're here to help give advice and help give some direction to people who are considering going the same route you've got. So I'll get her to come up. We'll spend about 5 minutes quick talking with Jasmine, then I'll give you guys about 2 minutes to ask some clarifying questions, and then give some advice, some resources, some direction that might help our new member. So please welcome onto the stage, Jasmine. Hope I'm not calling you out too much there, Jasmine. I'm going to spotlight you if I can figure out how to do that. Oh, it doesn't let me. That's lovely. That's okay, Zoom. If anyone figures out how to do that, please let me know. But you are now co-host, Jasmine, so please don't end the meeting. Okay, let me see. I think I've got you here. Can you hear us?
I can hear you all, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Lovely, lovely. Well, first off, I'm honored to be able to ask my questions. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge thus far.
Thank you. And do you want to give us a little bit of an introduction around kind of who you are, where are you at in this kind of agency journey, just to give us some context? And if you've got any challenges, or what are you considering right now? So why would you also join a call like this? Give us a little rundown of those, and don't worry about how it sounds.
So first off, I love ADP lists. I love these group sessions. I was very ecstatic to be able to see this particular group session on this theme. So a little bit about myself. I'm a UX designer. I've been freelancing since the beginning of my journey, since 2021. I'm from the US, and the tech scene over here has kind of been bumpy. It's yeah, the tech scene over here has kind of been bumpy. It's up and down. There's mass layoffs. UX was a very I would say a very, I guess, hot industry a few years ago, and now it's just oversaturated. Um, but I say that to say yes, I'm in my research phase of considering becoming a founder. For one, a lot of my network includes founders, and founders are extra interesting people. And I also just enjoy that opportunity to be able to mentor and feed and grow with other people in the same space as well.
Wonderful. And so what are you considering from an agency perspective? If you could ask, our members anything and tell them about something you're struggling with right now or challenging with, what maybe would you need some help with?
Yeah, so one particular thing that I'm curious about your perspective on is the imposter syndrome of jumping from, you could be experienced as a designer, um, but jumping, basically putting on that different hat of being a business owner.
And
Go ahead.
imagine in maybe 6 months you've gone the direction you want. Maybe you've launched something by then. What are you looking at launching? Are you hoping to launch an agency, or are you hoping to grow your freelance, or are you hoping to change it in any way?
I'm hoping to launch an agency.
Yeah. And what would be an ideal goal for you, 6 months from now? Would you be fully launched with a ton of clients? What would that look like?
I think I would like to be definitely in a manageable, sustainable space. I don't want to say a lot of clients, but as much as I can handle at the time.
And do you have a particular offering that you're hoping to do? Is it just general design services, or is there anything specific?
Well, something that I am interested in um providing per se. So I'm also a DEI advocate. Um, so I definitely want to be able to employ and hire um a lot of diverse candidates within my space, because I think having diverse perspectives is highly valuable. And in the US market, African Americans make a very low percentage in the tech space overall.
I'm going to open questions up to the panel members, and maybe we'll end up asking you some hard questions. If we do, that's okay. That's kind of part of the gig to help you. So if there is any hard ones we ask, it's done with care.
Love it.
Mariana, Susi, Sarah, Jan, whoever wants to jump in first, feel free.
I'll start. Maybe it will spike up a conversation.
Go for it.
So I think there's two different distinctions when it comes to being a freelancer and having an agency or a design studio or a company in nature. And the biggest difference is the why, which I think Jasmine has her why. She feels very strong about making an impact for the underrepresented communities. And I'm assuming this also covers accessibility issues from the AI lens as well. So I think that's a very strong why. And I think those kind of niches and positioning always helps in terms of business. Since it's a small market, or since there would be relatively low interest, by the way, this is the risky part, right? I'm talking about that. Then I would start small and make experimentations about my pricing, about my team models, about who I work with basically everything, to see where I can have that product market fit in a sense. So I would go for it, absolutely. Best of luck. Let me know personally if I can support you in any way on your journey.
Do you have oh, sorry, Sarah, there was a delay.
Yeah.
Do you have
And
any
so,
clarifying questions for that you might want to extract maybe a bit more information at all, if that might help you target anything more?
Yeah, I would like to ask her, what's her biggest fear? What's her blocker? Is it really the imposter syndrome, or is there something that needs to be uncovered there? I would like to know more about that.
I do love that question. I think because I'm still early on in my founder stage, yeah, I'm not quite sure how to answer that question yet.
Okay, great. Then, well, you might hate this answer, but when you look at the startup founders, their ages are relatively low, right? It requires a certain resilience, a certain mindset, and also being a thought leader, which I think these are kind of things that we might lost as we age. So you have a very good percentage behind you. Why not see that instead of the other aspect and see it as a inexperience?
And if any of our panel members want to challenge each other's responses, feel free. I think we're all very much completely open to that.
Yeah, I
and
just want to
Go
add
for it.
one thing because in terms of imposter syndrome, I think especially first-time founders, no one of the first-time founders have ever done that before in their lives. So they are all brand new to, being founders. So I think you're being good company. So also in terms of the imposter syndrome, in terms of looking back, I think it actually helped my imposter syndrome because I knew that going into it, that I didn't know anything and I had to learn everything about starting a business. So it's almost like, a free card, you will make mistakes and you will learn from those and move on. That's what a big part of being a founder is all about.
I find that humbleness too, Jan, can sometimes actually be a good thing. Like when you tell a company, hey, I haven't run this before. Maybe I'm going to do it for free. Maybe I'm going to do it for cheap. I want to test this out. I'm open and completely open to you about myself. And especially if you find a good client that appreciates that vulnerability and that openness, it can build really strong relationships. And yeah, I think sometimes that openness can be a benefit. Yeah, and every time I join a new organization, I use that, hey, I'm new here, I don't know anything, I'm going to ask really stupid questions. I hold on to that card as long as I can.
Yeah.
Anyone else have some clarifying questions to maybe extract a bit more information or dive deeper on it or on anything from?
I'd like to add, maybe it's not a question, but I'm with Jan that I feel like, especially the times that we are living, we are like fated to always have this imposter syndrome with, whatever new thing we are doing in our lives. But whenever, at least for me, I feel like I cannot do this. Like today, I was like, right now, I'm feeling this right now. And then I think about what I like about design is that it's, it invites you to try, to fail, to learn. And I feel like you can maybe see this as another design experiment, like try to design your own way. And probably if you end up in a completely different kind of business, or if you need to go back, and I think that actually there's never a go back, you will always move forward. But if you move forward to do something completely different, it's okay, just think about that. You need something that you like, that you are feeling good about, that makes your life, viable, and that's something that you can do. And yeah.
Something I want to add to this is I'd encourage you to name your fears. We often have these fears about starting, but then when we actually start writing them down, we realize when we look at them, we're like, oh, it's not that bad. Actually, it's like 2 lines. And if you want to do like a fear versus, there's a word for it and it always gets me, but a fear versus positive, there's a better word for it. Frequently that positive list gets a lot longer than that fear list. And the ratio of how good that benefit versus how good that fear is becomes really obvious. So I just wanted to add that I think sometimes naming it, we have these fears, but they're kind of there in the brain, but they're very emotional and not as easy to kind of label and understand. Yeah. Opening this back up to any other comments from?
Yeah, I also
Yeah.
want to add something. Oh, sorry, Susie.
No, you go ahead. Go.
Okay.
No worries.
So for all who are really afraid of what happens when you fail as a startup owner or any kind of business owner, I'm not sure if this is still continuing, but I'm fairly certain that you will be able to see YouTube recordings, and probably the event series are going. There's this events that are called fuck up nights, which is basically where founders and business owners, they all come together and they start how magnificently they failed and probably took a lot of people with them down, and how they survived it, if they survived it, or if they're going through it. So I think connecting with the community and being with people who are going through the same experience really gives us a lot of power. And also you can learn from their experiences. If you're risk averse, you can plan ahead for these kind of things. So kind of works perfectly. Try and find out those people, have lots of conversations if that's the case. I would suggest that.
I love that, Sarah, and I shared the link in the chat. And one of the commonalities across everyone's story today, I think, is we haven't necessarily been alone. Maybe we've been alone in starting the journey, but there's always been either someone next to us, whether it's a partner, a business partner, friends, communities, other startup founders. Exactly what you said there, Jan. Every other new startup founder has never done it before. So I would encourage reaching out to communities and reaching out to other people who are also starting it. That's going to be your lifeline through the difficult days, the uncertainty, the times where you're like, what am I even doing? Why the hell did I do this? Yeah, Susie, over to you.
Yeah, definitely. Like, usually one misconception when I was younger, it was that I could do it on my own. You're never like, you can never do it on your own because you don't live alone in the world. So either if it's just like having a client, there's another person you need to work with, right? So yeah, building a business definitely applies to having a community, having others to talk to, or just having like situations like this in which you can share the thoughts and just ask away, because this is a journey where we don't know. Like, I see many of the questions are regarding like, do you know? And before you started, like, did you have this knowledge? Did you have this experience? And oftentimes that's not the case, right? Like, you have to learn on the go, and just like trial and error, just like pricing, for example. So yeah, for Jasmine, I was more about the scope, like, because one of the things that I struggled with starting was the financial aspect of the business. So like, would you know like how much you need to start the business, or how much you need to live your life based on the like, without a constant role or a constant paycheck, right? Because if you know these things, and if you know how much you need at least to kick off the company or the startup, that's that's one less headache. And the other one is more about the ground base, like having a very specific thing someone else can buy and wants to buy. Because that's one thing. So when I started the company, it was a dream, yes. And there's like this dreamy stage, this naive stage, when you want to just like be a designer, and why not? It fits the ego to say, and to sit here and to say like, hi, yeah, I'm a founder, I have my own company, right? It fits the ego in a way, right? So, but when you don't back it up with something that others can buy, that's when a first tool or a big wall comes into your face, and it's like, yeah, you may be called a founder, but no one's buying what you're offering. So definitely having something, or grounding yourself with ideas that others can buy. And at least at the beginning, base this on like, how can I live this business, so that later I can add this to add to the world, right? Because you first have to be stable. It's just like when you're in an airplane and you need to put on your the air mask before you aid others. You have to just like, I don't know, fit the business with some money, with some clients that may not be the most let's say recognizable, or the ones that are gonna like fill your portfolio with a lot of super sexy projects to put up on your website. But definitely they're gonna be the baseline, or the feeding line for your business to start growing, and for you to start feeling like, hey, I can do this. So having like these different stages where you like know someone's gonna buy it, and then you can start worrying about like, I can put this out into the world. Now, this is what I wanted to do with my vision, and this is the communications that I want to put out. Because I would love to start hiring students, or hiring junior designers, and hiring people that may not have the same opportunities or something like that, and then like being able to offer a job. But right now, for example, I can't, because I'm in this like flying stage. I'm departing, so I cannot put someone on board just yet. So first I need to think of that. So the question is more about the stage of the idea.
I think that's valuable
That
to
would
talk
be
about
this.
it in terms of stages, Susie. And I think when I first
Yeah.
approached my business, all I thought was start big business, make the money. But it's like, no, actually, it's a bit more granular than that. You have these phases of growth. It's like a relationship, really. You know, you got the dating. I'm not going to come up with the right phases for this, but it's kind of like that in a way. It probably follows a similar
Yeah.
timeline, ironically. Okay, can we check
The
in with
hand-holding
Jasmine?
stage.
Yeah, the hand-holding stage. Jasmine, we're going to finish up. How are you feeling about this? Obviously, there's limited time. We can't dive too deep into what you've got as much as we might want to maybe even dive into pricing model and your service offering and all that lovely stuff. How are you feeling?
I'm definitely feeling better, especially knowing that everyone goes through imposter syndrome and you can still be a founder despite that. And just to do it anyway. I do have follow-up questions, but I would love to connect with everyone and continue the conversation.
And if you want to send those follow-up questions at all to me, if we are doing that article thing, we might be able to even address them specifically post call as well. I'll drop my email in the chat for anyone who needs it. But we will send out the recording and everything afterwards. So there it is. Okay. Thank you, Jasmine, so much. Thank you for sharing your story and letting us kind of interrogate you a little bit for that. We really appreciate you also being brave and stepping up on the stage. So thank you very much. That's always a hard thing to do. I did that on a Chris Do talk, and he let me up on stage and my mic didn't work. And I felt so ashamed. I was like, no. Thank you, panel members, really for joining in. I like that we managed to get to that at the end. So I appreciate you guys staying on a bit longer. And I'm definitely sure we'll definitely see you in the future. So thank you so much all. I'll send you guys that question list afterwards if you want to respond directly. I really appreciate the stories that you guys have shared today, and that feeling of the imposter syndrome being something to accept and embrace, maybe rather than avoid and push away. The nature of rebellion and how that's kind of founding action, as well as I think one of the themes I picked up was that everyone started not with sometimes with passion, but there was this purpose that we felt at the beginning and kind of discovered along the way as well. So thank you so much again for sharing your stories, and it was awesome to share this journey together. And if you want to share your LinkedIn in the chat or anything, feel free to go ahead. But we'll round this all out. Please, everyone, thank our members. Chuck it in the chat. Connect with them on LinkedIn. Thank them for joining us. I'm going to stick around a little. I always do. If anyone wants to, do you want to chat more? I'll be here for an extra 5 or 10.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Susie.
Thank you.
Thanks.
It was great.
Everyone.
Thank
Have
you,
a great
It was great sharing ideas and hearing you guys and seeing like the similarities and differences in our paths. So this was like a very interesting conversation, and would love to see more and where we all head to in the future.
Great. I
Absolutely.
want a consultancy from the three of you, right? Next week.
Hey, maybe that's the next one, Mariana. We'll get these three on one side and be like, we can each interrogate each
Yeah.
other. Yeah. What's your
Yeah.
challenge at the moment, Mariana?
Well, my challenge is the sales part. You know, like what Susie said really connected to me. Like you were speaking to me. You know, I have like all of this vision. I'm trying to test the services, and I'm just going out. But yeah, you know, like I am actually like a introvert, extrovert. You know, like I am this kind of person who like can facilitate for like hundreds of people, but then when I need to sell something, it's really difficult. So that's the part. Yeah, but let's see what happens. I actually, you know, like I have like this deadline. I gave me 1 year, and that's it. So if by the end of the year I feel like it's like I cannot, you know, like be sustainable to a minimum level, I will probably try something else.
I think we're on the same track there. And I love that you say prototype when you're talking about like bringing in your clients and just like figuring out how to sell your service. It's like, oh yeah, I'm just prototyping. It's like you're
Yes,
selling your service, but you're calling
I'm
it.
prototyping.
Yeah, that's
But actually, it was really interesting because, you know, like I feel like clients, they connected mostly with us, with our own like yeah. So I was like making a lot of questions, and I was like I have like this the thing that I love to design with the clients and to co-design with them. So like of course I will have like 3 different proposals until we get to the final, you know, like thing. And I asked her, do you value all of those proposals? It's something that adds value to you because, you know, you can later
great
go on and
question.
do this by yourself. So does this sums to the price that I can charge for the service? And she said, yes, in my case, this sums. So, okay, I know that this is the kind of clients that I'd like to work because it's more natural to me.
Yeah, and the ones that are willing to pay. I think that's one of the topics that we could have like speak a lot more on. And there were like a few questions, so maybe like if Ben, you can share the questions with us. At
We got a
least
big list of
I
questions.
would like to share. Yeah.
There goes Jan. Anna, I see you on the call here, by the way. Oh, my camera's frozen. Anna and I were on a call not that long ago, and she's actually just finished a proposal for a client at the moment. So it looks very cool. Just saying. How you doing, Anna?
Good. Yeah, so we're just doing a lot of iteration right now. Speaking of prototyping, really kind of exciting to kind of throw it out there and allow that process to inform small changes. And it helps when you have a lot of things in the fire, it really helps to desensitize like any specific one. So I've definitely found like all of your advice, Ben, really helpful, and you know, from a couple other people. So yeah, that's just the vibe right now.
Thank you very much. And we unfortunately we only have half a recording for this session. I hit the button to record, and apparently it wouldn't let me do it on the cloud. So it only like recorded half. But I'm hitting up someone in the community, whoever is the Schurz autopilot. I'm considering getting that now. That way I always have like backup extra recordings. But they've got a full transcription by the look of it. And I was looking at it online, and I'm like, oh, I think I want that. I don't know if it does video either. I don't think it does, but definitely looks interesting. So I was kind of thankful someone had one of those AI thingies going on. Awesome. Okay, guys. Well, I don't want to keep us too long. You know, feel free to, of course, connect with each other. I thought if some of you guys might have some overlap, that would be a great connection. And Jan sent me a message saying he loved it as well, and he was very thankful to hear from you guys. He's gone to bed now with his puppy, which was adorable. Oh my God. And I think we might do another session again sometime. We'll maybe line up and see if there's something specific. I loved having Jasmine on and actually getting to take the experience you guys had and apply it to someone else's journey. And I think it'd be really awesome to dive a little deeper into one of those as well. But definitely. Okay, guys.
That'd be
well,
awesome.
I'm off to work. I have 5 to 7 design components to work through for today. So